Check, 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 mic check. Welcome back to my channel. Matt Violin is here. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be going over the 5 things that all musicians must have before they go out on their gigs. Now, a lot of this data has been collected over the years. For those who don't know, I've been playing the violin for about 19 years now, pushing 20. But been doing it professionally for about 10 years. So within those 10 years, I've definitely made a handful of mistakes. A lot of it was from a lack of knowledge that I had. And then there's another side of it that comes from trusting people as opposed to trusting myself, i.e. like your front of house engineers or your monitor engineers. Not to say that these people aren't knowledgeable, but they're not you. They're not you. So let's jump right into it and let's touch on the first thing that you need. Okay, so number 1, what you definitely need is a good luggage. So if you're like me, I always prioritize functionality first. I don't care how great the equipment works. I don't care if it's the latest model. For me, in the situations that I'm thrown in, I don't always have the capacity to carry heavy things because I'm working alone most times. So I don't really have the time or the patience to be carrying 40-pound, 50-pound, 60-pound cases over my head through traffic, trying to get to the front of the stage. So I always try my best to minimize the amount of gear that I have and making sure that I'm functional first and foremost. And the way that I do that is by making sure that I have a good carry-on luggage, i.e. this Toomey suitcase right here. Now, another reason why this is good too, because like I said, it is a carry-on. So I do a lot of international gigs or, gigs that are within the States. This is a great solution to figure out what exactly you do need and what you do not need, because I'm able to fit all my wires, again, my mixers, etc., into this suitcase right here and not really have too much trouble dealing with TSA. Number 1 on the list, you definitely need a good suitcase. You definitely need that. You do not want to be caught without it. All right, so jumping right in, the first thing that you guys see when you open up the suitcase here, you see my Allen & Heath Z10FX along with a power strip. And first thing that we're going to touch on is this Z10FX right here. This is probably one of the most important pieces of gear that I've purchased, and I've been using it for over 10 years now. I'm not going to lie to you, this piece right here is responsible for not only getting the gigs, but getting more gigs. This right here is going to be the basis to your success as a musician, as a gigging musician. Now, here's the reason why. I've been in so many different types of venues that you don't actually know what they're going to have. So being that I play the violin, if I go into a small little lounge that has a capacity of like 200 people, I don't know if they're going to have the gear to make sure that my violin sounds good on their system. So the way to go around that and make sure that you are equipped properly is to have an analog board such as this. So there are 2 reasons why this is the most important piece of gear that I have within this suitcase right here. Number 1, I get to shape the sound as needed. I get to make the decision. Not the front of house engineer, not the restaurant owner, not the club owner. I determine what is a quote unquote good sound for the current space that I'm in. And number 2 is because of the effects. Just so you guys know, all reverbs are not created equal. They are not. But with this specific board here, especially on the violin, the Allen & Heath board probably has one of the most authentic, natural sounding reverbs paired with the violin. So I'm going to jump into a little bit of detail of this board. Again, this is not a full review on this gear. I'm just trying to give you guys like a little glimpse of what I use on a day-to-day basis when it comes to doing these events, all right? Okay, so just to go over the basics of this board, we have our input up top. That's where you'll plug in your instrument, violin, trumpet, whatever you have, you'll plug it in right up there. So you have your trim, you have your high band frequency right here, which you control right here, just dial it in and out. So in my experience, when I do these events, traditionally, especially on the violin, the frequencies that tend to be the most out of control are your highs. With this board, I can quickly fix whatever issue I have with the highs, because when I play, I want the listening experience to be as simple as possible for the audience. I can't afford to sound bad. I don't care how great I play, how great my tone is naturally. When it comes time to perform, it needs to be on point, no matter what. So first and foremost, I'm always touching the highs, especially on that violin. So then we have our mid-range frequency here that you can adjust, and then also you have your low band. And then we can dial in our effects. That's where you'll get your reverbs from, etc. You also have, as I pan down, okay, we also have our aux send, which is very, very important, which I will talk about in another video. What you can do, you can also set up the mix for your in-ear monitors through this aux. You also have your pan left and right, and then you have your just standard volume at the bottom. So on a very basic level, that's the reason why I love this board right here. All right, guys, so number 3 on that list that I must have in my bag at all times is a good wireless system. Now, here's the reason why. For me personally, I'm always performing in different venues, different obstructions. You know, some places that I'm playing have 2 floors, so I have to go up the stairs to play for one audience and down the stairs for another, and then jump into a private room and play for this audience. I never really know what situation I'm going to be put in. So with that being said, you need to invest in a good wireless system. So here I'm using the Shure ULX D4. I'm not going to lie to you guys, this thing is a beast. It's a bit on the pricey side, but I kid you not, you use this, you will never, ever have any issues. There have been times, like I said, I'll be playing for the Garden on one day. This will do perfectly fine in the Garden. So although there's not many obstructions, there's a ton of cell phone interference. And with this setup right here, I've never had any problems. Once you clear scan it, you are good to go, essentially. And if you ever have any doubt in your mind that you're going to have some sort of issue, you can always invest in the shark fins, which will help expand and extend the wireless reception, if you will. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, another reason why you want to invest in a good wireless system is because of this. If there are major obstructions, there's a lot of cell phone interference. No matter what happens, if you get dropouts in your performance, although it may not be your fault directly, to the regular consumer, it's always going to be your fault. Whether you have a great performance or a bad performance, it's always your fault. Now, the principle that I really do my best to live by is this. Mistakes are inevitable. Mistakes are going to happen. So what can I do in my power to try to minimize the amount of mistakes that can possibly happen at any given event? So here's another reason why, ladies and gentlemen, you need a good wireless system. It's because of this. There have been too many times where I've been told that I'm going to be playing like right next to the DJ booth. So I'm about 5 feet, if you will, away from the wireless system. And then when I get to the actual event, for some strange reason, the coordinator has this new special idea and she wants you to play now 50, 60 feet away from where your wireless receiver is. And then now there have been times where people will now crowd the line of sight between my wireless receiver and the transmitter, which can be a major danger to losing some sort of signal while you're trying to perform. Now, again, with this system, I never had any problem at all. Literally, I've been thrown in the worst situations, and this is held up without any glitches at all. Do not go cheap on your wireless systems. I'm telling you, this piece of gear right here is also going to assure that you don't only get called for the gigs, but that you get called for more gigs. So number 4 on that list, ladies and gentlemen, is a QSC, an EV, some sort of active loud speaker. And here is the reason why. Again, I'm always thrown into so many different scenarios where I don't know what the venue may or may not be equipped with. So with that being said, I keep saying it, I cannot afford to have a bad performance. Do I make mistakes? Every single event. But I'm not going to allow a bad performance to come based on my lack of preparation. So there have been many times I've spoken to like a club owner or a lounge owner Or even some people that, that have weddings, they'll say stuff like, oh yeah, there's going to be speakers there. There's an engineer there that'll set you up and make sure that you're good. Although that might be true, I don't know to what capacity. And even if it is to a decent capacity, I'm not sure if that front of house engineer knows how to really mic up and EQ and set up my performance to sound good. So there have been times where I've shown up and the speakers that they're referring to are like those Bose in the wall speakers. Like they don't really do much when it comes to a real live performance. That might be great for like cocktail music, but for what I do is performance. That music needs to be loud. That violin needs to be over that music. That's the only real way I can guarantee the performance that people pay for, So you should always have some sort of speaker inside your car that you can rely on, that will get you the results that you need. Because in those moments, I am telling you, there is nothing that you can say to dig yourself out of a hole for your performance not being on point. They might see you online, and then when they hire you and you perform in person, it's like, this is not what we thought you was going to do. So with that being said, people, always have that speaker inside of your car come time to do these events. I'm telling you, it will save your life, your career, and it'll definitely get you more gigs. I'm telling you, that's going to separate you from everybody else. So this is number 5 on the list. This is another thing that everybody needs. Every musician needs this, if you don't have it already. It's some sort of cart. I go with the rock and roller cart. Those things are built like tanks. They've never crapped out on me. I've had mine for years. It works through the rain. It's just really, really good. So the reason why you definitely do need this, for me personally, when I load into any event, I try to do at max 1 trip. Again, I'm by myself. I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. So I don't want to carry too much weight, and I don't want to make too many trips back and forth from the car. So on that cart will be my suitcase that has my board, my wires, and my wireless system. It'll have the speaker, QSC, just in case. And then it'll also have the stand for the speaker and my violin. That's 1 trip on 1 cart. And, there have been times where I had to park like 2 or 3 blocks away. There's no place to really pull over and unload. So with that being said, if you have that cart, you don't have to make 4 or 5 trips to get all of your equipment. You just load it onto that cart and you push it to where it needs to go. I'm telling you, that cart will not only boost your spirit when it comes to doing these events, but it'll also give you like an extra 5 to 10 years on your career because you're not constantly lifting things and carrying them for blocks. I'm telling you, it'll do you guys wonders. Make sure you guys have that. All right, guys. So to recap, here are the 5 things that all musicians must have in their bag to not only get the gigs, but to get them callbacks. Number 1, you need a good suitcase or luggage. Number 2, you need some sort of mixer. Number 3, you need an efficient wireless system for whatever instrument that you are playing. Number 4, you need some sort of active loudspeaker. And number 5, you need a cart. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Matt Violinist. If you guys want to see a specific review on any one of these things that I'm talking about, make sure that you guys leave a comment inside of this video. So again, make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys press that notification bell. I'm Matt Violinist. Until next time, we are out of here.